100% of this preview are problems that have been worked out step by step directly in your packets. And we will prove that as we go along here. So, right at the very top, shock of shockers, 8 questions in the preview, 8 questions coming tomorrow. Oh, dice. I didn't. I do. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a peek at these, and you basically are going to know what's coming your way tomorrow. All right, first one. Zach's bank granted him a single payment loan of $27,500 for 90 days at 5.5% exact interest. What's the maturity value of the loan? Okay, first things first. Very first page of what we're doing. What's the maturity value of the loan? Single payment loan. The entire list is right here of the things that you need. Now, I'm going to do this myself, but basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take the amount of the loan times the interest as a decimal. Remember, just divide it by 100, not anything bad. But here's the part I've got to remember. Exact interest versus ordinary. Again, if I have my packet, I know exact is 365, ordinary is 360. So, the number of days out of 365 in this case. And would it make that big of a difference if I use 360? It may be a few cents, but hey, a few cents on a quiz is a lot of stuff. So, ooh, that's bright. Hang on just a sec here. All right, so 27,500, 5.5%, and my fraction in parentheses. This is the interest, but that's not like the answer, but it's part of what we need to get there. Once I know how much interest I'm paying for that 90 days, now I take the principal of the loan and the interest, and I'm just going to put them together. Except it's not times, Hardy. Oh my gosh, that'd be a lot. It's just going to be adding. And the maturity value of the loan, which includes interest and everything else, would be that $27,872.85. So it's 2 steps basically. Calculate the interest, principal times rate times time, and then just add the interest to our original total. So the only difference between the first 2 questions is going to be what type of interest, which is going to change things a little bit. So on this next one, if I follow that same idea, all right, Carrie's bank granted her a single payment loan of woofda, $270,000 for 180 days at 7.5%. Ordinary interest. Okay, so ordinary is 360. Exact is 365. That's the only difference between these 2 problems. Well, and the amount of the loan. So, let's see here. That is some interest, people, for a short-term loan. Okay, so the 10,125 again is just the interest. Once we know that, it's just my principal. How much did I borrow to begin with? Plus my interest. And that would be my maturity value. So after 180 days, that's how much money I better have to be able to pay the bank back. Principal times rate times time, get my interest, and just tack it on to the end. Now, the rest of these, again, we're basically going in the order that we did within the packet. So we've got Orangelo here is buying a new freezer for $1,195. She made a down payment of 30% and financed the remainder. How much did she finance? Okay, there's two ways you could tackle this. You can either say, hey, it's $1,195. How much was the down payment? So I'd multiply by the 30% as a decimal. But some of you, I have a feeling out there, know there's a way I could shortcut this. But let me show you. Okay, that would represent my down payment. That's not the answer, though. How much did she finance? Would be taking that value. I gotta quit wanting to multiply on everything. And subtract my down payment. Now, for those of you that like to find shortcuts to things, in a problem like this, there is a shortcut. This is perfectly fine in doing it. This is how we did it when we were working through the packet as well. But here's how you could do it faster. If I paid down 30%, I didn't pay down 70. You're like, wait, how'd you do that? 100% of the total took away 30. If I multiplied by what I didn't pay down, I can get there right away. You can do it in one step, actually. So you have options, is what I'm trying to tell you. But the way I did it right there is probably the most straightforward way that you can do it and get your answer. Next one. Matt obtained an installment loan of $5,700 to rent a moving van to move out of Chicago. The annual percentage rate is 10%. He must repay the loan in 12 months. What is the finance charge? You're going to need to use the table, we got in the back here, in a moment to help us. So again, if we're looking, I want to find when we did this in here. If I don't see it right away, there it is. Okay, I'm just going to put a little note on here. So this is page 5 in the packet here. When I'm trying to do this, we're going to take the amount of the loan, $5,700. We're going to divide it by 100. This is going to help us start working on the monthly payment. Then we're going to multiply that times the monthly payment for this type of loan on the back. So here's how this works. This little chart on the back, 10%, 12 months. I flip over. 10%, 12 months. That multiplier is the interest multiplier. So I got to know my time and I got to know my percentage. So 8.79 when I flip back over here. So that part, 5,700 divided by 100 times 8.79. Okay, that 50103, I'll spit it out, is my monthly payment. I'm trying to write a little small because I got a little more work I got to do here. Now, is that the question? No. Okay, well, we got this. So now to figure out what was the finance charge, what was the interest, here's what we do. So now, I got 12 months to pay this back, and I'm paying this much every month. So 12 months times 50103 is $6,012.36. Okay, this is the amount I financed. You're like, okay, so is that the answer? No. One last thing. I financed this much. That's how much the loan was. Here's the last piece. I'm going to change colors one more time here. I'm going to subtract how much I borrowed. So 601236 minus 5700. That is the amount of the finance charge or the interest. So I got to use the chart to figure out my monthly payment. Multiply by the number of months. So I have to keep this stuff straight. Hopefully you're writing this, because this could be a useful thing tomorrow. To get your amount financed, and then we're just subtracting what we started with. That's why I'm trying to label the pieces as we go, so we can remember it. I'm trying to put page numbers in the packet here too, to try and help out. Okay. We only got one problem using the chart, though. We're done with the chart. If you're like, chart, going through now. Micah obtained an installment loan of $145,000. We got some big money customers here today. To remodel his home. The annual percentage rate is 9%. He must repay the loan in 60 months. What's the finance chart? I just get done saying that we're not going to use the chart anymore, and I got to use the chart. Good job, Hardy. We'll use number 4 as our example here. Okay. Yeah. So $145,000. We are still dividing that by 100. That's just helping us to get this monthly payment set. So how do I get the monthly payment again? What's the percent for how many months? 9%, 60 months. All right, let's see here. 9%, 60 months. There's my multiplier. So my multiplier is 2.08. So this is going to help me find my monthly payment here. So $3,016 is going to be my monthly payment. But again, that's not the finance charge. So I go back up here and I'm like, okay, now how does this work again? So I'm going to be paying this back for 60 months. So every month for 60 months, I'm paying $3,016. We're just going to take the number of months times my answer to the first part. This is going to be quite the little bill. 60 times 30/16. Okay, so again, that is the amount that I financed with the interest and with the loan that I had. But if all I care about is the finance charge, all I care about is the interest that I paid, Maybe I'm going to use it as a tax write-off or something. I take the amount I'm going to pay back minus the amount I borrowed. And I paid a pretty penny to borrow this money for 60 months, but hey. That's a whole lot of interest. But when you pay a large interest rate for a long time, that's going to happen. But again, 3 definitive steps, just like we did when we were looking at it in number 4. Now I can honestly tell you the chart's done. I can. So I'm like, all right, oofda. Whitney obtained a loan to purchase a boat. More big purchases. For $13,725 at 7.25% interest for 24 months. The monthly payment is $616.06. How much of the first monthly payment is interest? How much of the first monthly payment is for principal? What's the new balance? Okay, hang on here. All right, so now I'm over on page 7 here, because again, it's something similar. $6,000 bill, 5% interest, 24 months. They tell me the monthly payment. How do we do all this? Okay, first job, we got to find the interest. So let's see. Interest, what did I borrow? Times the interest, times 112, because I need it for a month. So let's do it. So I borrowed $13,725 at 7.25% interest. Remember, divide by 100 times 1/12. I just want to know what's going on for 1 month. So that number never changes. So I'm going to pay $82.92 the first month in interest. So there's the first question. I'm done. How much of the first monthly payment is for principal? Okay. There's my monthly payment. So I paid $616.06. $82.92 of that was interest. If I subtract those, a majority of it was for principal, thank goodness. And what is the new balance? Now, when we're talking about the balance, and I'm going to reference back to here for a minute. I'll get this back off in just a sec. Whatever I borrowed minus whatever my payment to principal was will show me my new balance. So whatever I borrowed minus whatever principal I was able to just pay off it's going to tell me what my balance is going to be next month when I got to do this all again. And again, labeling this stuff with this probably would come in handy and make your life tomorrow very easy if you would kind of get some of those things down. So a lot of these questions, yes, they have multiple steps, but they're all steps that are really straightforward and consistent, and you should have several examples of them to work with anyway. So now, the next two, a little bit different. Not much. It's the latest stuff. It was the last thing that we did in here. So our last would be, just a moment here, paying off our loans which is over on page 11 of your packet. So if I'm looking first, I got to look and see. Find the previous balance. Okay. After 10 minutes, the balance. Okay, there's my previous balance. So I got to know how much I started this month with owing. So I've got that. Then it says, find the interest for the next month. Okay. So we're going to take that value and we're going to find the interest rate. There it is, as a decimal. And it's always, if it's for 1 month, again, times 1/12. We're not doing 42 here. So get those. All right, let's see here. 77.55. Okay, what's the interest on the 11th payment? Right here. Previous balance times the rate times 1/12. That's going to get me my previous balance. So I got my interest payment. Check. What's the payment if he pays off the loan? Okay. Find the final payment. So you're going to take what you started with this month, and again, I'm still messing with page 11 here. So your previous balance plus the current month's interest, okay? Previous balance in the current interest. So 77.55.49 plus a little extra interest. And that's how much I would pay if I just wanted to pay it off and be done with it. I would just pay the interest on that last month, and then everything else is done. And again, between page numbers and this, I think I got you in pretty good shape here to be able to see this when you see it tomorrow, to be able to knock it out. Now, the only one left, very similar. So I'm going to start these problems just the same. Gloria obtained a $21,425 loan at 13% for 18 months. Her monthly payment is $1,316.51. After 14 payments, the balance, so my previous balance, we're almost there, people. It's $51,226.47. What is the interest on the next payment? Okay. Just using this as my guide. My previous balance times that ridiculously high, crazy interest rate. Still times a 12th because we're only calculating it for a month. And I'll say it like I do in every one of these quizzes when we have them. Just make sure you show me what you're doing so I can figure out what's going on in case something goes kooky somewhere. Okay, so there's my interest on the 15th payment. What's the payment she pays off the loan? We're like, okay, we've been here, done this. Whatever my previous balance was, plus the interest I currently owe. So that would be the amount I would owe to pay this completely off, but there's one last question this time. Holy cow, Hardy. How much interest is saved by paying off the loan early? Back to the help one more time here. Okay, interest saved. The total that you pay back minus these things. Okay, so this person had an 18-month loan paying this every month. So that's my first part. So here, 18-month loan times my monthly payment. That's kind of a chunky number. Then I have to subtract the sum of my previous payments. You're like, okay, so what does that mean? I'd made 14 payments so far, and I'd paid this every month. But I also paid this payoff statement, this last one on top of it. So I got to get this stuff, 14, whoops, not plus, times 13, 16, 51, plus 5182.01. And when I subtract those two from each other, you're like, seriously, Hardy? I did all that work, spent all that extra money to try and pay this off early, and I saved a stinking $84? Yeah. Well, if to be honest, though, if Gloria wanted to save some serious money, we wouldn't have gone 14 months in before we decided to do the payoff, okay? So, tomorrow, when you come in, the quiz that you're going to see is going to look eerily similar. So have this situated, or if you were a little out of it for a couple of the problems, go back and look, because I'm going to post the video. Have this stuff ready, and it should be a nice, easy way to go into break with a nice grade before we hit it back up on the other edge.